Ooh, I'm not talking to you. You are conceited. You are conceited. This is the mop up. I'm David Feldman. It's the oldest Republican trick in the book. Dismantle government, demonize government, debilitate and destroy. That is why Republicans go to Washington, to destroy. That's why they go there. They go there to destroy, to dismantle the regulatory state, to destroy government so that their corporate benefactors can do whatever they want. It is the Republicans who lower taxes for the wealthy, run up huge deficits, then demand fiscal austerity by making cuts to things like the Environmental Protection Agency, which they've always detested, cutting FEMA, cutting all preventive medicine. And by preventive medicine, I mean inspections, checking the railroads and making sure they're safe. And then, after government has been stripped and looted, when there's a horrible chemical spill in East Palestine, Ohio, after Norfolk Southern freight train derails, the Republicans wouldn't dare blame Norfolk Southern. It can't be Norfolk Southern's fault for not hiring enough engineers. It's not Norfolk Southern's fault for negotiating a new contract that doesn't allow their workers sick days, a new contract that exhausts their workers. It's not Norfolk Southern's fault for hiring lobbyists to defund the National Transportation Safety Board, to defund the EPA so their executives over at Norfolk Southern don't have to fill out all that cumbersome paperwork and aren't subjected to all those inspections. No, with the Republicans, it's never Norfolk Southern's fault. It's the government's. Donald Trump showed up in East Palestine this week to lend his support. Yeah, to lend his support. He created the situation. Headline, this is from USA Today. When Trump gave that massive tax cut back in 2017 to the wealthy, he wanted our friends over at ICE to then round up more innocent women and children. So, how did he pay for it? Donald Trump immediately took $10 million from FEMA and gave it to ICE because women and children of color are more toxic than a railroad company spilling 115,580 gallons of vinyl chloride. And then, when FEMA is slow to respond to a crisis, the Republicans say, you see, government can't do anything right. It's like cutting off someone's legs, then blaming them for not being able to walk. 2 years later, after that massive tax cut to the rich, it began to kick in, that massive tax cut to the rich, and America was broke. In 2019, we're talking about. And more money from FEMA had to be transferred to ICE to maintain the for-profit prison camps that Donald Trump was running. This prompted then presidential candidate, now Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, to tweet. He was a candidate taking money Congress authorized to protect people facing disaster in order to indefinitely detain asylum seekers is unconscionable. It is unworthy of the presidency and unworthy of the United States. This was Mayor Pete back in 2019. He was retweeting at the time a CBS News story that said Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, had diverted $155 million from FEMA and given it to ICE. As you know, I don't trust Mayor Pete, so I double-checked this story with PolitiFact, and Mayor Pete was true. It is what you call a true fact. It says over PolitiFact, but the remaining $158.4 million would, as Buttigieg said, come from FEMA, the agency that handles disaster prevention and recovery. Mayor Pete was telling the truth. But wait, as it so often does with Donald Trump, it gets worse. In August of 2020, Rolling Stone, in an article written by Tessa Stewart, writes, Trump looted $44 billion from FEMA's disaster relief fund in the middle of a record-setting hurricane season. That was the fourth year of Trump's presidency. He diverted $44 billion away from FEMA. Trump destroyed FEMA. More from PolitiFact. In July of 2020, Sophie Austin from PolitiFact wrote about Donald Trump's budget cuts for the EPA, and she points out this is exactly what Donald Trump, as a presidential candidate back in 2016, promised to do. Quote, this is as a candidate, Department of Environmental Protection, we're going to get rid of it in almost every form. We're going to have a little tidbits left, but we're going to take a tremendous amount out. He promised to dismantle the EPA. He said he was going to do that. In 1997, Dr. Maya Angelou was on Oprah, and one of my listeners posted this quotation in the comments section for a previous episode. I want to thank her. And I read the quote. I had no idea that it was a quote from a lesson that Oprah learned from Dr. Maya Angelou. So I want you to listen to this quote. It's from 1997. Oprah and Maya Angelou talking about one of the important life lessons Maya Angelou taught Oprah.
When people show you who they are, believe them.
Yes, absolutely. A person says to you, I'm selfish, or I'm mean, or I am unkind.
Or I'm crazy.
Or believe them. They know themselves much better than you do. Mm-hmm. But no, more often than not, those of us who don't trust life say, don't say a thing like that. You're not really crazy. You're not really unkind. You're not really mean. And as soon as you say that, the person
lets you know
and shows you, I told you. Mm-hmm. I told you I was unkind. So now why are you angry?
Go rewind that and play that again. When people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. Read Mein Kampf. Hitler told you who he was the first time. Believe them. 3 weeks after the derailment, talking about people who you should believe the first time when they say they're unkind and abusive and bullies. Believe Donald Trump back in 2016. He told you who he was. 3 weeks after the derailment in East Palestine, candidate Donald Trump showed up to criticize the Biden administration. Okay, he wants to criticize the Biden administration. Let's look at Donald Trump's record. Okay, let's start off with Mother Jones, a simple headline. It's from 2019, while Donald Trump was still president. Donald Trump eliminated a website that would allow citizens, journalists, and scientists to keep track of toxic chemical spills around the country. Okay, we're starting off easy. Let's start with more of his record. Let's continue with his record. Trump's budget proposal for fiscal year 2021, this was his last budget proposal. It contained another 26% cut to funding for the Environmental Protection Agency. He was trying to pay for that massive tax cut for the rich that still hasn't been repealed. He proposed eliminating almost 50 programs, including programs that help fight pollution, radon, and lead. According to Politico, Trump put a veteran of the chemical industry in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency's Chemical Safety Office. Politico goes on to write, where she made industry-friendly changes to how the agency studied health risks. This is what Republicans do. They loot the federal government, and then they put their cronies in charge of agencies that are supposed to protect us from industry killing us. They put the people from the industry who we have to be protected from. They make, as they say, the fox guard the hen house. More on Donald Trump's record as president, where he rolled back 87 environmental regulations. Every year that he was in office, Trump called for major cuts to the Department of Transportation, as well as the Environmental Protection Agency's budgets. Each year that Donald Trump was president, he proposed at least a 13% cut to the Department of Transportation. More on Donald Trump's glorious record on safety and the environment. As president, Trump rolled back rules on trains carrying flammable liquids. He said the cost of a new braking system for individual railway cars, the costs outweigh the benefits of accident preventions. He argued the cost of the new braking systems outweighed the benefits of accident prevention, and we're starting to see that it was the braking system that overheated in East Palestine. The Associated Press found that the Department of Transportation during the Trump administration underestimated the future damages of derailments by more than $100 million. Almost every year that Donald Trump was in office, he called for major cuts to the Department of Transportation and Environmental Protection Agency budgets. And each year, I already told you that, he called for cuts to the Department of Transportation. Here is former Congressman Jason Chaffetz, who now works for Fox News. Now, keep in mind, Jason Chaffetz hates the EPA. He's a Republican, hates the Department of Transportation, and hates the government. But here he is complaining about Joe Biden's response to the derailment in East Palestine.
They take weeks for FEMA to show up. They take weeks for the Department of Transportation to show up. The disaster happened nearly 3 weeks ago. And these people are just now getting around saying, hey, I better go ahead and show up. Come on. Even the Ohio Department of Natural Resources said there were 3,500 dead fish in the rivers. Don't tell me, Mr. EPA Administrator, that all's fine in the water when the fish are dying and the frogs are dying. Do your job, show up, give those people some relief, give them some hope, and do what Donald Trump is doing. Show up and listen and learn. That's what you got to do.
Show up, listen, and learn. It's a little too late for a former president to be learning about why we need to regulate the railroads. Yeah, just cut the EPA, cut the Department of Transportation, and then when there's a derailment, see, government doesn't work. Here is Sean Hannity, whose job it is to tell low information voters that government can't do anything right to justify tax cuts for the wealthy. Sean Hannity is a propaganda machine for the richest 1% who want us to think government doesn't work.
I don't think I'll ever listen to anybody in government on any health issue in the future based on how much they got wrong with COVID-19. I don't trust them. And
based on how much they got wrong on COVID-19. Who was president when the government got it all wrong on COVID-19? Sean Hannity. I believe it was the guy you talked to every night. I think it was Donald Trump who got it all wrong on COVID-19. When you put imbeciles in government, government gets everything wrong. And that affords you the opportunity to say government can't do anything right.